I'm here to talk shit.
And chew bubble gum.
But we're all out of bubble gum. So we're just talking shit.
We're just going to talk some shit about
books.
And beer.
And booze.
Yeah, why not?
Books
Right?
and booze.
Did you say boobs?
No. Nope, not
Boots
boobs.
and booze. Boots and booze. That's a new...
This is my booze.
Oh, you're drinking vodka?
It's vodka soda. Coconut lime.
That's awesome.
Three Floyds.
Okay, I didn't know
brewery.
they made that. I am drinking also vodka and soda.
And that's also
but
a
this
brewery.
is Exile. Yeah.
Okay.
And they usually make beer, but it's very delicious. It's tropical, and it's only 99 calories.
This one's really good, too. That's
So-
all I'm going to have.
Are you using a PBR koozie? Wow.
PBR or Fireball.
And you know you can drink them together. They're both awful.
Yeah. Like the look that I made when you were like, you can drink them together. And I'm like, oh, they're both awful. Yes.
Anyway,
Let's do some books.
let's
stuff.
talk books.
What do you have? Do you have all scary?
No, well, yes, but different scary because, as you know, I've been reading books of your recommendation.
I don't read scary.
And after that, I had to go back to some of my scary because hers is, yeah. So we'll talk about that. What about you? You have different books.
I think this is a horror genre. I'll just start with this one, but horror genre, I think that I have a little bit of that psychological.
Mm-hmm. And then a
I say palate
nonfiction?
cleanser.
A palate cleanser.
I say
yeah.
palate cleanser because it's like it's kind of like a feel yourself book. Get in your feeling good.
Okay, all right.
Woman vibes.
That's good. That's good for you. After the one I'm reading now, which is not any of these, I'm gonna need a palate cleanser. Yeah.
What's your palate cleanser? What do you go to for a palate cleanser?
Nicholas Sparks is a good one.
Oh, that is a good one.
Or vampire romance.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. Yeah. Or nonfiction. Something nonfiction.
Yeah, I like biographies or autobiographies.
I do too. Those are good ones. Yep. I've read some good ones. So it's been a while since we've done this. We just kind of took a hiatus because life. Because life.
Because life.
And lots has happened since last time. So, yeah, we're just jumping right back into things.
Yeah, this time
'Cause it
we're
was
not
fun.
really talking about books that we've both read, though. We're not reading a book together. We are reading whatever the hell we want and then talking about our books that we're reading. And if we happen to like the other books, then we'll probably end up reading those. But I think 2 of the 3 that you have over there I've read.
Right. And, well, maybe by what we say about the books, what we think about these books, you'll be able to read them too. You might say, "Oh, cool, I want to read that one," or "Oh my God, I don't want to read that one."
Yeah. And a lot of the ones that I have read have been recommended a lot on like Facebook, social media. So I got into Splatterpunk because I was looking for the most atrocious horror that I could find, and that's where it led me down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I guess that's what you could call it, a rabbit hole, Alice.
Yes. And
So we're
then-
going to talk about some of that tonight.
Yeah.
Because I've read some of it, and, well, because she did, and I would say we both have very different takes
Yeah. Uh-huh.
on this stuff. So, yeah.
I like disturbing and disgusting and
Mhm.
brutal and gory and
Ugh.
you don't.
It just things that you go, well, in my mind, I go, who thinks about this? Who thinks this crap up? Genius minds. Genius minds. I mean, because, I don't know, do you think there's somebody yesterday asked me what I was reading. I was standing in line reading my book, and somebody asked me what I was reading, and I told them, it's this, and briefly, it's about this. And they said, do you believe that they say, what they say, that you you become the things that you fill yourself with? And I'm like,
Oh, filling your cup.
I believe that there's some truth in that, but I'm not going to turn into a devil worshiper because I'm reading a book about that.
Yeah, I had a similar conversation, but I was like,
Interesting.
honestly, I just like to know. I like to know all of the weird and like twisted things that people can think about because people are fucking crazy.
Yeah. And I'm kind of like that, but I like to figure out why people do the things they do. I'm into true crime big time. And so the books that I read, you know, I enjoy the kind of books that have a background. This is why this is happening here. Why did someone do that? Why would someone do this?
Yeah, but with true crime, do you really figure that out though? You don't.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I mean, if you get the full story, but yeah, you're right. You rarely get but it allows me to try to figure it out. You know, it gives me the chance to go, oh, okay, I know why they did it. Maybe I know why. Maybe I can figure it out. Maybe you can't. I like that stuff.
Maybe the reason why I like splatterpunk and all that crazy stuff so much is because I like mental illness and how mental illness sets in and how it triggers the brain in different ways and how people think when they have mental illness, and maybe that's why I like it more, because it's like only somebody that is not in their like proper mind setting
would
can
do
live
stuff
like this.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. With that said, what are we starting with?
Well, I'm just going to start with a horror. I was going to start with this one because Boys in the Valley. So like I said, I have gotten a lot of recommendations through Facebook. And this was one that I am in a horror group, which is like a huge horror group. And all the authors are really cool. And they kind of communicate on there. They do each year, they do a like bracket of where they try to find the best book in the genre of horror, and it's all indie authors, so they're not like really well known. And this book was last year in the
winner
bracket. It was not the winner, but it was in the bracket, and I just think that it deserves recognition because it's really, really freaking amazing, and it's kind of got that church element to it where it gives you the twists and turns of like what happens in the church setting, or what happens, like these are foster kids that live in the church setting, so they're like Catholic foster kids being raised through that setting, and it's just fucked up. So you get to where like it's the devil involved, and I just think that that's a really good horror. That just makes a really good horror because there's so many people that believe in God and the devil, so it's like one of those things that what if there is no God and devil, and you know, people are going through this crazy situation and where they think that they're being like taken over by the devil or possessed or any of that stuff. And is that like a mental illness thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because if there is no God, you know, to each their own, but I don't know. I just always think that's a very interesting one. So Philip
Fracassi?
Yeah, Fracassi. I was like, I always put an N in there. That's why. I'm like, that's not right.
Exquisite. Fracassi's got his hand on the chisel going into your chest.
So I think I need to read that.
That's from Stephen Graham Jones. He's the one that put that in. He wrote the Don't Fear the Reaper, which is on here, but the Indian... Oh man, I cannot remember what that book is called, but it's so, it was so popular forever. Don't Fear the Reaper and My Heart is a Chainsaw is another one that he wrote. He's just a popular author too, so I always like to read those little blurbs from other authors. But yeah, St. Vincent's Orphanage for Boys, so it's all boys. A gothic, gory Lord of the Flies. Horror readers will be hooked. Yes. So Lord of the Flies is also one of my all-time favorite books forever and ever, and I love that freaking book. Have you read that?
No. No, but I know about it. I've always wanted to read it. I don't know why I never have.
I have that book if you want to.
Okay, I'm probably going to borrow that book too.
This one was good.
So I'm just going to start with my horror then too, because then we'll get to these.
Do you count... You have to tell me about your author if you count all of his books as horror.
No, I don't. A lot of them are more supernatural than horror. And this one looks like I left a bookmark in there. Oh, this is your book. So Dean Koontz, What the Night Knows. This book was more, well, it was supernatural, but it turned out to be supernatural, but kind of a ghost story at the same time. But it is about a demon that takes over people. So
so that's kind of like mine was like a little bit of exorcism type stuff.
Yeah, well, yes and no. So what was cool about this is that you hear the story from the side of the bad guy and the good guy.
Oh, I like that.
The good guy's a cop, but he happened to kill the bad guy when he was a kid. The bad guy killed his family. And so, but things happened during that time and were said to him that stayed with him, and suddenly the bad guy is back. And it's 40 years later and he has his own family, but it's because the bad guy was actually controlled by a demon who's trying to get out, and he can take over people, but only under certain circumstances.
Okay.
So, and he's waited this long to for some reason come back. Anyway, so that's the supernatural part of it. It was really awesome because the bad guy at the beginning that was taken over, wrote a diary of what was happening to him. Ooh. So part of it, you're getting him in his diary. It tells you that in the beginning, that it's like it's written from the point of view of the antagonist, of both the antagonist and the protagonist. But it tells you in the beginning that a kind of a therapist was talking to them and wrote a book about what was going on with it, and they've included excerpts from the diary of the original. So yeah, good read because of that. The ending, it got more supernatural than I thought the whole story really was.
Okay.
So, I mean, I thought it was a good read. It was a quick read. It took me about a week, and I don't read every single day because I too much life. But I would recommend it. It was a quick and easy read, and
I have a question.
Yeah.
Dean Koontz is known for his endings that are like, let's tie it all up with a bow and it's pretty and doo-doo. Is there a dog in the book?
There is.
Always a fucking dog.
But the dog in the book is a ghost.
Oh. Well, there's another book
sent
like that
from the good side to help. There's also a girl that sees.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always think Dean Koontz is very he's got the frillies where, Stephen King can get more dark, but they're both a little more supernatural than just horror.
I think Stephen King gets much more dark than Dean Koontz.
Yeah.
But a book that you can read of Dean Koontz in 3 to 7 days, you read in 2 to 3 weeks for Stephen King, because he's long-winded.
Yes.
He's a good writer. Don't get me wrong.
Amazing. The detail is just impeccable.
And well, if you've ever read his memoir on writing, he talks about that and building characters and the plot and the story and really building it up. He does. Yeah. He does a great job of it.
All right.
So
my next one.
That's my easy one.
Well, this is my easy one. The Butterfly Garden. Dot Hutchinson. I know that this is a super popular book, and I've seen it so many times, and people have such swaying opinions on this, but I really, really like this book. And there is more. There's a trilogy, or there's either 3 or 4 books to go with this. It's a series, but this one is fine just on its own. I've heard not so many great things about the other books, so I just decided not to read them. But basically, this is human trafficking. This is fucked up. This is girls get taken and then they have to live in a commune where they're hidden with other girls, and they're all called butterflies. They're this guy's butterflies, so they have to be these beautiful young girls that he just keeps because he loves them and they're so pretty. And when they get too old, they have to sacrifice themselves, basically, because they can't make it past 16, because that's when they're overdue.
Wow.
Or 18 or something. I don't remember exactly. It's been a little while since I've read it, but I liked it so much. The story was just wild the entire time. The girl, you're reading from the girl's point of view. The last one to have gotten captured. It's from one of the girls that got captured. And there is more that I think come into the story. But just some of the stuff that they're put through while they're in, they call the guy that has taken them the gardener, because he comes and he takes care of his butterflies, and they're like living underground or something, because they have like this little outdoor area that they have only one teeny tiny window that they can look out of, that they can see like the outside world, but it's hidden in the woods and somewhere, so nobody else can see them. But they have like a waterfall and all natural resource going through there. It's just like, you can tell this guy obviously has made money because he's made them a beautiful oasis, but it's just a fucking crazy, disturbing book. It's like the psychological thriller, but you're seeing what he's doing to these girls, and you can see, I know you were looking at the back of it to read it, but he tattoos them to resemble the name that he gives them, because each butterfly gets a certain name of a kind of butterfly, and then he tattoos their entire back to look like that beautiful butterfly. It's just a weird, fucked up, like, he's a collector of young girls, and I think it's worth a read. It was really easy to read. It was a pretty quick read for me, because I was so enraptured in the story and was like, no fucking way, this guy's a nut job. But
I'm gonna read that too.
Yeah,
you should see her bookshelves.
Don't look at the bookshelf.
There's so many books. Oh my god, so many books.
So many books. Yeah. I talk about that all the time. Like,
so
I need to get rid of some, and I'm like, but I haven't read them all. And I just refuse to get rid of them if I haven't read them.
Yeah. I got rid of a lot of books, but I found that I wasn't going to read them. I would pick them up and look at them and be like, I don't know why I have this. So I got rid of those books that I did that with and kept the ones that I was like, oh yeah, I am going to read these eventually.
Well, I did that with some of my books that I knew I wasn't going to read, and then my daughter ended up with them, and then I'll see them every once in a while, and I'm like, I think I'm still going to read that. Yeah. I probably won't, but...
But they're here still for you to read.
Yeah, if I wanted to.
Yeah, I was here yesterday and took a dozen books home. I'm going to read them, I swear.
I'm really good for that. Come over to my house and you'll get books.
Well, so I'm wondering if I should stay along.
Just do it.
The line of what you were doing.
No.
Or I couldn't even finish this book. It was so awful. So I'm going to talk about a book that I haven't even finished yet.
Well, I'll fill in the gaps.
I'm not going to finish this book. So I'm going to talk about it at the beginning. This book, Cows Moo.
We were talking about Splatterpunk, and this is the worst book that I have ever read.
I was like, give me a couple books of that Splatterpunk you like. Give me your bad ones. She's like, okay, here, this one and the other one I'm going to talk about. And so this book, apparently, I only got through the very beginning part of it. Maybe, I don't even know how many chapters, because maybe I could. Well, yeah, I read that.
Talk about what you did read. Or
up
lightly.
To about chapter 13, up to 12 or 13.
Okay, yeah, but how many pages is that? Where are you at? Like 50 pages. How many pages are in the book?
200. Okay. 200 some.
That's what she made it through. Because
that's a quarter.
Gross.
If there's 200 in the book, I made it through a quarter of the book, and it was so disgusting.
Yeah.
So the man lives with his mother. That's all I can figure she is. She keeps talking about how she squirted him out of her. Yeah.
See you next Tuesday.
Yes. And apparently from the graphic description, she's disgusting. And he's lived with her, and he's an adult at this point, but is kind of like a mama's boy and doesn't know how to live on his own because he's had a terrible example, but he gets a job.
Uh-huh.
Slaughtering cows. Well, in a cow manufacturing plant.
Yeah, at a slaughterhouse.
He's not slaughtering them yet. However, he's got some weird, crazy ideas, and a weird, crazy neighbor girl upstairs that also has weird, crazy ideas, and they do some crazy ass shit that made me go, no, I don't want to do this. besides him getting inside of the carcass of a cow looking for disease at the plant and having sex with her while he's scoping out her ass hole. Yeah,
like a scope.
Yes, for real, like on the TV and they're watching it. And that's just part of the bad stuff. The mother, yeah. So that stopped me reading this splatterpunk. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Splatterpunk.
Splatterpunk. I mean, that's what I would categorize. It's extreme horror.
And she said, that's not the worst of it.
It's not. It's not. The point of this book, I think, that made me... So the part that I was telling you about last night, there's guys that are working on the kill floor, and they wait until the factory closes, and they gather around one of the cows, and they take the prods, and they prod holes into the side of the cow so it hits each one of the 6 stomachs that it has or whatever, and then they decide to have sex with it, with the hole that they've made in the cow, while the cow is still alive. I don't know if I...
Oh, God, you didn't say that.
Yeah, so the cow is still alive.
It's just got holes in
just has holes in its side, yeah, going straight to its stomachs. Ugh.
Wow. Well, that's not sick. And so the author.
So we were talking about the authors and how they come up with this fucking depraved ass shit.
Yes. I mean, I don't know if that's something you would think of. It is not something I would think of until now.
I just think crazy shit all the time. So I'm like,
Cows,
what goes through people's heads?
You know, I tell you, it has critical praise on the back of it.
Don't.
From authors. It's every bit as dark and deranged as Lane Bank's classic The Wasp Factory. I've never read that.
I have that book, but I have not read it yet. So that's one that
Possibly the most visceral novel ever written.
That's probably accurate.
So if you like visceral and
there's more to it, and
weird
it gets
sex
really like
and
at the end.
We don't want to know. Just you could go ahead and read it.
Yeah. No, I don't. I was gonna. No, it gets like
no. Yeah.
Weirdly. So if you think it's out there for his family to be so weird, or his mom and his neighbor, I'll just say the basically he has conversations with cows, and I don't know.
Oh yeah, I did read something about this book that the cows talk.
Yeah,
but that's just him. You don't know that? You don't know if they were... So you never get that knowledge. Okay.
Yeah, it's... yeah.
That sounds like a book you want to read. Hey.
Weird.
We should start renting books out.
Yeah, I'll have my own library. Actually, I heard that you have to have 1,000 books to have your own library, and I know that I have 1,000 books.
I'm sure you have more than that.
Okay, I'll go for my little light and fluffy.
That's your palate cleanser.
Yeah, my palate cleanser. So actually this was recommended because one of my friends that I went to school with, I'll say, she was going to start a book club, and she wanted to read this book because she heard it's really, really good. And it was really, really good. This Could Be Us, Kennedy Ryan. Basically, I call it a palate cleanser because I read a lot of horror, psychological thrillers, stuff that messes my brain up, and I'm bleh. So I get overwhelmed sometimes with that. It's just too much blood and guts, I guess. And this is not something that I would have probably read, but I'm really glad that I read it because it's heartwarming, so heartwarming. I think that the notes that I put for this book was just, this girl finds out that her husband, basically her husband's just a shit. And she's like the stay-at-home mom. She does everything at home. She takes care of the household. She takes care of the kids. And he's off living CEO life, and of course fucking his secretary, whatever that could be, because that doesn't happen. But yeah, and she decides that she needs to find herself and be by herself because she's been with this man since she was 19 or something, since she was young, had kids with him, and she's like, I've done everything. I've been the strong woman of the house and done everything. I can do it without him. So she does, and she kind of finds herself, and she talks about how she finds herself like through her kids and her family, and just, I think her mom had passed away, and she was reading like back journals of her mom and just getting inspired, and it was just very, very heartwarming. I really loved it a lot. It's not, like I said, something that I would pick out by myself, but then again, I'm really glad that I read it. And it is one of those it's got the little romance to it. She finds a guy that's trying to be really good to her, but she's like, no, bro, I'm trying to find me. So this is probably good for you.
I was going to say, that sounds like I would cry reading it.
I don't cry a lot for anything. And this kind of was like, I could see somebody would get pretty happy tears from this.
I'd be like, reading this book.
and then there's a little blurb, heart-searing, sensual, and life-affirming from Emily Henry. And Emily Henry is known for her romantic books. So, yeah, that was my last one.
Oh, gosh, I should read that.
It is lovely.
Palate cleanser. That could be my palate cleanser. Next, another, I want to say spaghetti horror.
I like that more than splatterpunk. Spaghetti horror.
Spaghetti horror.
We will now call the splatterpunk and extreme horror spaghetti horror.
This is called The Slob by Erin Beauregard. This book, I have to say, got the back that says some stains don't come out. You will fully understand that sentence when you read this book. It was horrible. It was horrible. It was graphic.
I love this book.
And it was good. I enjoyed it. It was difficult to read at times. I have to say there were times I was reading it and I had to set it down because I was just like, oh my God, I cannot believe that just happened. This book is specifically, I would say about this housewife, but I think it's more about the slob. Well, so what happens is this housewife,
she's selling Kirby's.
She is, and she's pregnant. She's selling the Kirby's to make some extra money while she's pregnant, so they have it when the baby comes because she can't work. And she stupidly decides one day to follow this old road that goes way back in the woods because she sees a mailbox and thinks she could get one more sale. And she ends up at his house. And
you can see this book. It's like, of course I have the light on it, but oh, yeah. His art is just amazing.
Yeah, it's great art. There's
like a flick going on of it.
Not only is his art amazing, his writing is, you can picture the things he writes in your mind.
Very vivid.
Yes. And I told you she's pregnant. Well, she's not pregnant the whole time because the slob takes care of that. And what it ends up, I don't want to give it all away, but he is being brought women to harvest. Let's just say that. And there's a whole lot more to that. Pretty young, vibrant, virulent women, that young. Yeah, what more should we say about it?
There's a second one.
There is a second one. So, yeah, being that this is so disgusting, and the end of it, and there's some cool extra art at the back of it too, because he's just a great graphic artist.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he does his own art or not.
I don't know who did it, but there's some scenes where they're from the story. You gather that. But at the end of it, it does tell you that there's a second one.
And I own that as well, but I have not read that one yet.
Yeah, so I'm going to be reading that. So many things, so many thoughts go through my mind with this book. So many things of...
So many thoughts. And this book is one of those that's just like, not...
It took me 4 days.
Yeah, it's not 128 pages.
And I did put it down at times, and I thought about it when I wasn't reading it.
Yeah. I
had to get and see what happened. You watch a movie and you want the person to get out of what they're in. You want this movie, you watch the whole movie. A book is kind of the same, except you got to read it. It takes longer.
To the edge of your seat.
Yes.
You're just reading.
That's where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this. Oh my God, they're going to do that. I can't read this right now, but I have to know if they're going to do it or not. Yeah. So, that being said, do you want to say anything else about it?
I will say that I met this author, and he is lovely. I know we were talking about authors and how they could probably be the most fucked up individuals because of the things that they write about, but he was just so down to earth and homely, and he was just soft spoken and not in a creepy way. When I met him, I wasn't like, ooh, he's gonna murder me in my sleep. No, he's like, hey, how are you? Take some stickers. Good to meet you. Do you want me to sign your book? Do you want to take a picture? I was like, this guy's really good. This guy's really nice.
When did you write this?
Yeah, writing this. And he had a table full of books. So he's got a lot of books out. And I was like, that's what comes out of your brain. But what comes out of your mouth is so nice and soft and beautiful. Like,
crazy.
I think I was just going to touch base on one more because we had it down here. Dead Inside. This is what started me with Splatterpunk.
This is one I have not read yet.
Yeah, she hasn't read it, and she was thinking about reading it. It's got a really pretty cover with all these little flowers. I like the flowers and the skeleton. I mean, it's got bugs. I'm not a bug
comic
fan,
artwork. But
yeah, but I think that's what kind of drew me to this book because I thought it was really pretty, and I was like, I like skeletons and flowers. But this is probably my favorite Splatterpunk that I've read, and I've read quite a few of them, and this is probably my favorite. I don't know if it's just because it's the first one and it sticks with me so well, but it's two fucked up individuals and one of them works at a hospital. Sorry, I think he works at, if I'm not mistaken, he works at a, what is it, like the last, like a hospice. That's
okay.
what I was trying to think of. Like a hospice. So he's like, a lot of these people are not surviving. So he's kind of fucked up, obviously. You can tell when you're reading it. And then he meets a doctor, which the doctor's on the back here. And she's a pretty little thing, but she's got her own
fucked up.
Yeah, demons. I was going to say demons, but I'm like, I don't know how to. I don't want to give too much away because if you want to read this, go ahead. But just know that this one is trigger warning high on death for children, specifically babies. That was a big one. But and it's called Dead Inside, so I mean you can kind of get the gist. But still, it's got some fucked up. He's got some like he likes to have sex with corpses.
Ugh. That's kind of what I was thinking it was more like, but...
Yeah, and then she has her own thing, which can be explained in the book.
I might not read that book.
Yeah, I told her not to, because this one is very high trigger warning. And, I mean, all Splatterpunk will be, so let that just preface you if you do want to read any Splatterpunk, because it is high trigger warnings. I think most authors are pretty good about saying, like, right at the beginning of their books, this is not for the faint-hearted. This one doesn't say it, but... I think his usually do. Oh, well, that says, for my family, we are not normal, but we're pretty entertaining. So, at least you know that.
Well, yeah, it just kind of gets into things there, but...
Yeah. So, I mean, most of them do, but I of course, I have two books that don't have a trigger warning on them, but that's what the genre is. It's all a trigger warning. And
spaghetti horror.
Spaghetti horror. I love that so much. But I think we've gone through. You had 3 books.
Yeah.
I had 3 books, and then we kind of did the rundown of that one.
We covered some of the Splatterpunk for you tonight, so.
Yeah, and we'll have different. Like I was trying to do a couple little different genres, just because I read a whole lot of different stuff, and I know you do too.
We're gonna try to get this done once a week.
Yeah.
A couple times a month anyway, to start, and when we can make sure our schedule is, things change, life changes, but yeah, we have fun doing this. So.
Yeah, and there's so many good books and so many different things that you can read, and it just seems like a lot of people are back into the reading scene, and I'm down for it. So
yeah.
I like recommendations.
Yeah.
I probably don't need them, but I definitely do.
If you have any recommendations of spaghetti horror,
not just that,
put them down in the comments down there, and if you have any questions about any of these books, we're happy to answer them too. You can put them in the comments, and otherwise, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Drink any of my drink.
Oh, mine's about gone. I can't talk and not drink at the same time.
I just having so much fun. Bye.
Bye. Have a great night.